How's it going? See if anybody shows up to this thing. It's just about 7 o'clock. Figured give a couple people some time to tune in if they want to tune in. If they don't, what up? Look at this. We already got like 2 or 3 people here. What up? Sorry, I'll go back to my deep voice. That seems to make people respond better. How's that sound? For those of you that don't know, yeah, I got a vice. I'm gonna smoke during this. Sorry. Been trying to quit. Look at all these people joining. This is pretty sweet. It's obviously a topic that people want to hear about. Who knew? Alright, let's get this thing rolling. I only got like an hour on these live things, and then they cut you off, so. What's up? Where's the beer? Dude, no. I'll crack that open. How's that sound? Alright, here we go. So, as y'all know, kind of my, my purpose with this whole identity of the Trout Bus and this visage that I have and whatever influence that I may have in just sharing information with you guys has brought me trouble in the past, and I don't really give a shit. So I just try to give you guys the best information that I can gather, so that way you guys can make your own decisions about what you want to support and how you want to support it. Obviously, I like to keep things wet. So, speaking of which, so Wikia, yeah, hot topic. Took some notes, went to a meeting the other night with OWRD and who's Oregon Water Resources Department, COID, Central Oregon Irrigation District was there, North Unit Irrigation District was there, we had some farmers, we had some nonprofits being represented there, some local citizens. Cheers, everybody. Anywho, oh god, that's good. So, obviously last year on WikiUp was pretty bad. So, yeah, not much else that you can say about, yeah, that just sucked. But, just so you know, that's not going to change. Sorry. You know, there's nothing we can do about it, really. You know, that's Mother Nature's call. That's not the irrigator's call. That's not how we're managing the water's call. Not at all. From what I've come to realize and from what I've educated myself on. So I'm here to share a little bit of that knowledge with you. Past 20 years have been dry in Central Oregon. Just in general, Pacific Northwest, everywhere else. It's been dry. People have been having a hard time figuring out ways to manage their water resources. And that's kind of what climate change is all about. We're in cycles of that. Yes, it happens. Yes, it rebounds. How long it takes? You got a crystal ball? Give me the lottery numbers, and I'll write them down. But so last year, water got down to about 1,000, from what I wrote here. 1,000 acre feet, roughly. So that was pretty bad. This year, it's projected by OWRD that it's only going to get down to about 10,000 acre feet. Which is still really damn low for that lake. For the foreseeable future, that is just how it's going to be. We haven't had successive back-to-back really wet years in Central Oregon. Based on the data that's been gathered by Oregon Water Resources Department, by the irrigation districts, and by the rest of the regulatory bodies that look at the water for the state of Oregon, especially in Central Oregon, we would have to have, and this is not a joke, we would have to have 2 consecutive years in a row of anywhere from 150 to 200% precipitation for us to be able to completely refill and have a full WikiUp every year. Or, you know, all the way through the season, through irrigation season. Now, how we're using the water, yes, that's another big topic. You know, the irrigators and the farmers are just taking all the water. No, We can do the math real quick. All right, here's the baseline. On average, the amount of water that's allocated per acre foot for farm, whether it's agriculture or you're ranching, is historically it's been 1.8 to 2.0 acre feet. That's what they're allowed. That they're per acre that they own. So you do the math, and that's basically 24 inches of precipitation, roughly, per acre foot is what they're allowed. Now, we don't get that. This is the desert. That's the reason why we have reservoirs, and that's the reason why we have irrigation. That's the historic average that they've been allowed to take. You know what they get this year? They get 1.5 acre. They get 1.5. Like, you get to try to do the same job that you've been doing for the past 100 years with 25% less water. How's that sound? So if you were asked to drive to work and only fill your tank to 3/4 every time that you went to work, you would have a hard time getting back and forth to work, right? So don't blame them. They're working on a lot of stuff. I mean, what it's going to cost to fix or to get everything up to speed and to be, a fully hydraulic system, we're looking at $200 to $250 million over the next 20 to 25 years. That's just what it's going to take. If anybody's got that money laying around and they want to just throw it in the kitty right now, hey, let's do it. I'll put you in contact with the right people. So, let's get back to just some of the specifics from the meeting that I thought were very interesting and some facts that were shared. So, 85% of the supply for the North Unit Irrigation District is supplied by Wickiup. And that's a lot. And every single farm is a gamble. You're not guaranteed crops. You're not guaranteed a boom season. You rotate your crops. Depending on where you are and which irrigation district you're using and how much acreage that you have, crop rotation is the biggest thing, right? You don't run alfalfa year after year after year. You might run carrot seed one year. You might run alfalfa for a couple of seasons. You might run another crop after that. You don't do it over and over and over and over and over again with the same crop. Why? Because then you deplete the soil. You'd have no variety. You have no nutrients going back into the soil. I grew up in an agriculture community. I know this. Every season it changed down the road from me from where I grew up. And, basically one season we'd have lettuce. Next season be cauliflower. Might have that for a couple of seasons. Might have lettuce for a couple of seasons. Whatever it is. Brussels sprouts, artichokes. Who knows? Anyway, neither here nor there. So each one of those crops has a different requirement for the amount of water that they need to actually survive and to thrive and to actually create a crop that keeps a farm in business. And it's a crapshoot every year. You don't know. They don't know. They're looking at a crystal ball. Every year they're being basically given an allocation. They're being given a forecast of what they can expect per acre of water that they have a certain amount of water, right? But they're also told, hey, you know what? Because it's a low water year, your 1.8 or 2.0 acre feet of water that you usually get per acre, you're only going to get about 1.5. So the farmer every season has to sit there and look at that and go, okay, well, what can I farrow? What can I fallow? What can I plant that's actually going to keep food on my plate and keep shoes on my kids' feet? And they have to do that every year. It's not like regular business where every year it's kind of the same thing over and over and over again. So you really got to be mindful of people that you want to blame as far as these problems go. And it's not our job to blame. If you're concerned about it, support them. Help them out however you can. If they need help, then help them. But there's only so much that we can do until it's a hydraulic system. And we'll get into that in a second. So the dry cycle, like I said, hasn't been helped with the fact that, we've had 20 some odd years of consecutive dry. We get a little peak of some good rainfall, some good precipitation one year. It might be 200% one year and then 75% the next year. And that just caused it to go like this. Our population's going up. I was doing some math earlier. I mean, the average amount of water acre feet that's being used just by residents on an annual basis is 15,000 acre feet, just based on population density for Central Oregon. That's a lot of water that's just being used in flushing toilets and taking baths. So, there's a lot of things that we can do to conserve that water. That helps them. That helps everybody. We don't pull water out of the river to put in your tap. It's taken out of the ground. But groundwater recharge is what keeps our springs rolling, right? So it's all tied together at the end of the day. So the other thing that didn't help, or that hasn't helped, is that over the past couple of years, some litigation has happened. Spotted frog, God bless that little spotted frog. But it's not necessarily helping everybody out. It's helping the spotted frog out. Don't get me wrong. We'll have spotted frogs, which is awesome. State treasure. Let's make sure that we got water for spotted frogs if we can. But we're human beings. We're top of the food chain, and if we got to sacrifice a frog so that way we can continue to have water, we're gonna do it. So I don't think that's gonna happen. But historically, what they've been able to do is they've actually been able to draw water out of Crane Prairie. To help mitigate the reduction of the flow or the water level inside Wikia. It's not happening anymore. That new litigation basically requires that Crane Prairie stay at a certain level year round. So that's one of the things that I totally spaced on when thinking about this entire equation was, hey, yeah, Crane Prairie, cranebows, sweet, they're gonna have water. So's the frog. Wikia, it's reservoir, and it's basically being used to store water for irrigation. So it's going to go up and down, and until we get, like I said, anywhere from 150 to 200% precipitation for 2 consecutive years minimum, that thing ain't going to be full, and it's not going to stay full throughout the season and throughout the entire year. So when you want to know what does the future hold for Wikia, well, that's the future. And that's out of our control. That's climate. That's Mother Nature. She got a dump on us for a couple of consecutive years, which, there's some people that be super stoked on that. Everybody that loves to go up to the mountain and go snowboarding or skiing or just go play in the snow, they'd love 200% snow in a season. That'd be awesome. However, we got no guarantees of that. So we just got to do with what we have. Consecutive dry years also means that it takes longer for the groundwater to recharge. So even if we get a couple of really good heavy dumping years, it's still going to take time for that groundwater to recharge and to get back up to a full level and to sustain. So here's some more data for you. There was a habitat conservation plan that was put into place based off of a overall study that was done, and that study produced a lot of really good data. There's been a lot of really good data that's been produced from a variety of different studies over the past 20, 30 years, and I really don't want to go into that, dig down into that too much because, how many studies we got to do to know that it's the same problem that people are just rehashing over and over again. Seems pretty obvious that, the problem's there and we don't need to study it, and we know that to fix the problem we need water and we need a hydraulic system. So studying that always seems a little self-serving to me for the people that are actually doing the study, but whatever. Anyway, there will be the habitat conservation plan that has been generated through the stakeholders will be coming out and will be published on October 4th, roughly. That's barring any amendments or anything else that they want to amend to it prior to it actually being published. That plan will then show where money is being spent, that $200 to $250 million that they're looking at to spend over the next 20 to 25 years for process improvements, on-farm efficiencies, canal lining and piping, all those good things. You missed the beginning of this. Where did you get this information? Also, is it available online for someone to read? It's a very good question. Now, the only way that you can get that information, Jim, is to go to these meetings. And this was a roundtable that was held by the Deschutes River Alliance, and it was basically just a stakeholder roundtable. Sorry, I'll get everybody back up to speed again. Wait a minute, just said that. Second question. Yes, thumbs up. Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, it was held by the Deschutes River Alliance, bunch of stakeholders. We're there. Hopefully that answers your question. Can you get this information online? Not all of it is online. The Habitat Conservation Plan will be published on October 4th, roughly, which will kind of explain the processes that they're going through for on-farm efficiencies, those types of things, canal piping and lining, where the different projects are, how they're spending that money, all that good stuff. You'll even probably, solicit some money. State's giving up some money for it. The federal government's giving up some money for it. Locals are giving up money for it. Everybody's putting some money in. Everybody's got a, dog in the fight at that point. Everybody wants to make sure that this happens. When that HCP does come out, there will be a comment period for the public to make comments on that plan. Hopefully that doesn't spin out of control and cause more problems. It seems to me like the HCP is pretty well organized, and it's got some really good overall strategy to how they're actually going to implement some of the things that were found out in the study. So a lot of this is going to be about patience and relying on Mother Nature. So some of the things that they're actively working on, COID's got a pilot program out right now where they're basically they have about 300 rotations. Now, rotations in COID, because they're the furthest upriver user, but they also have the least amount of acreage per unit, is a little bit different. Their idea of rotation is basically the people that have the water right and the property, they rotate when they're allowed to have water delivered on their property. So say Jim and Sue down the street are your neighbors. You got 20 other neighbors in your particular area that are all pulling water from the irrigation ditch. What they're doing is they're rotating each one of those individuals for different times to draw their water. And to do that, there has to be a certain amount of automation, or you have to manually go out and crank your wheel or lift your weir and get your water. So your particular rotation to get your water delivered to your property might be at 2 o'clock in the morning, might be at 11 a.m. Just depends on who you are and where you are in the rotation. So they're trying to get more of that automated, and they've got some pilot projects going on out there, and it's for about a 5-acre farm. We're talking about somebody that's ranching. They got some horses, maybe a little head of cattle, not too much. It's kind of hobby farming. It's not big, massive industrial agriculture, right? I mean, they're not running 100 acres. They're not running 50 acres. They're not running 250. They don't got a big plot to water. These are generally speaking smaller ranches, smaller little hobby farms, basically. It's about $5,000 to throw that automation in, and $5,000 is a lot. That's not cheap. And if I got 10 acres, it might be $10,000. If I got 20 acres, it might be $20,000 to get all that dialed in and to get all that stuff. That's a lot of money, at the end of the day. So again, this all comes down to money. It doesn't come down to ag. They can only do as much as they can. Every year, the farmers are asked to conserve. They've been asked to conserve for the past 100 years. It doesn't serve their purpose to be wasteful of the water that they do get. Every drop of water that they get has to go into a plant, and it has to produce. That's how they make money. That's how they make a living. That's how they afford to live. So they can serve as much as they possibly can. If there's financial reasons why they can't convert to pivot or convert to a drip system or any of those things, that's because they're not generating enough revenue, because they don't have enough water to be able to make enough crops to afford to do the upgrade. They're just getting by on the skin of their teeth for the most part. So keep that in mind. They're not bad people. These are all people that are your neighbors. These are people that, your kids go to school with their kids. Whether it's in the valley, whether it's here, whether it's anywhere where there's any kind of agriculture. So be nice. Um, what else I got here? I got some other stuff. Um, Oregon Water Resources Department is actually only forecasting about 40,000 acre feet for the 2020 storage in Wikia, which is low. That's very low. Like that's not good. Also, this year there was a lot less runoff in some of the smaller tributaries that actually feed those systems. They were expecting a much bigger year out of the Little Deschutes, which didn't happen. We had a bumper crop of water in the Ochocos, which fed the Crooked system, but that water doesn't get to the Deschutes, and it doesn't go into the canals that are way the hell up here in Bend that then feed all the systems downriver. So it doesn't matter, unless somebody wants to go pipe a bunch of water out of the Crooked, which I don't recommend. Let's not go there. But overall, groundwater studies have shown like we've seen we're going to see probably a 20% reduction in groundwater in the coming years. And as Bend grows and our reliance on that groundwater increases, it's going to make it even more difficult for us to manage the river because we're not recharging the systems at all. So, I don't know. I mean, if you guys got questions, just throw them in there and I'll see if I can respond to them. Incentivizing this entire process is really the key. If we can figure out a way to fund these, Billy Chinook will be getting fed. Well, yeah, because it's being fed by the Crooked, the Deschutes, and the Metolius. And there's no canals that come off of Billy Chinook, though. So that doesn't help anybody. The canals are actually, because it's all canyon down there, like they'd have to pipe it up and out of the canyon. That's the reason why all the intakes for all the irrigation start way the hell up here, because the water's so high to the surface, to the ground level. Makes it a lot easier for the delivery system to start up higher in our system and in our basin, so that way we let gravity do the work to deliver it down to the people in Madras and Jefferson County and all those areas down there. So yeah, I guess you could, but now you're going to be taking water. If you decided to take water out of Billy Chinook, now you're going to be taking water out of the lower Deschutes. So we can't keep. It's kind of like that analogy of what happened in Australia or what happened in Hawaii. We got this bug, so we brought in this frog, and then this frog is too much, then we brought in this animal, and then this animal got out of control, so now we had to bring in another animal, and all of a sudden you've got all these animals and all this stuff going on, and you can't control it anymore. It's just it spirals out of control. So more irrigation, more piping, pull water out of Billy Chinook. Those sound like great ideas, but it doesn't necessarily solve our problem. Our problem is conservation. Our problem is reducing the amount of water that we actually use, in my opinion. And we need to make the system hydraulic. Open air canals, open ditches, that there's a lot of seep, and you lose 40% in transmission by the time it gets to the farm. Yeah, man. I mean, we need to get it back there. But even if you did that, even if cutting down trees, less shades, less water, I don't know. That's an interesting statement. I'll get back to that though. But where was I going? God damn it. Shit. Lost it. Anyway, I'll figure it out. I'll get back to it. Water. Yeah. It's a nightmare. Oh, that's where I was going. Even if we get all those efficiencies, we fully make it hydraulic, and that allows a really precise delivery method. If we save a bunch of water, it doesn't mean it's going to go back in the river. And I bet you guys didn't know that. The amount of acre feet that has actually been allocated as far as water right in this basin is over allocated. From day one, it's been over allocated. There were guarantees given to people. You get this much acre feet. And people like, dude, I got a piece of paper right here that says I get this much acre feet. Give me my water. Okay, cool. Give you your water. Once we create the efficiencies where you can get that water, and it requires taking less water out of the river or out of the system, it doesn't go back to the system. They still got to draw that amount of water out. They still got to pull more than is actually allocated, so that way they can feed the system. So that's a legal issue. you can't transfer the water back to the river. Bet you guys didn't know that. It's a Western water right law. Yeah, and it's a huge problem in the Western United States. Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's somebody out there that knows a little bit more about it than I do, there are leasing programs, there are buybacks, there are these things that we can mitigate that. But if I conserve enough water so that way I'm not drawing 300 CFS out of it to go fill up all the people in North Unit or whatever the CFS is. It was just an arbitrary number. Don't quote me. And all of a sudden I make it fully hydraulic and it only requires me to pull 100 CFS. Well, because I've been taking 300 CFS, I got to take it. That's just it. They can't even leave it back in the river. So we got some legal issues there. So contact your legislator. Figure out a way to actually make it possible so that way when there's people are willing to conserve the water, whether it's agriculture, whether it's anywhere else, that they're allowed to leave it in the river. Right now they can't. It has to go back to the irrigation district to manage, which means that they have to transfer it to another landowner that maybe fallowed their land. Fallow, for those of you who don't know, means I don't grow a crop that season on that particular acreage, and I don't even do anything with it. Not the best scenario. You want people to produce on their land. It's like if you own a business and you're like, well, I'm just going to shut down 50% of my business this year so that way I can conserve a little overhead. Nah, you still got to pay for it. You still got to pay the property taxes. You still got to pay for your insurance. You still got to pay all those things. Shutting down half of your business because there isn't enough business, you're just going to downsize. Like, you're just going to cut your losses and get the hell out if you can. Hold on. I'm trying to look up some stuff online while we're doing this as well. We have to stop cutting down trees. Less shade equals less water. It's not a bad idea, but I'm not sure that there's a direct correlation with the amount of trees that we have here having produced water. Our weather systems, and this is something interesting as well, looking at historic averages of where our systems have been coming from, our weather systems, which produce our water through rainfall and snowpack, that has shifted over the past 10 years. It's actually, we're seeing more systems coming out of the southeast feeding us rather than coming directly out of the west and hitting the Cascades and dumping a bunch of water on there and then coming on over. So that has to do with climate. And I do agree that we'll have better water if we have more trees because of how they are filtering the water and how they help produce better nutrients for our soils, which makes better water. Totally agree there, but I'm not sure that cutting down less trees, there's not a ton of forestry that's going on right now. Most of the mills in this community and most of the Central Oregon communities have been chopped and done. They're gone. So I don't think that is really the biggest issue. There are thinning issues that we need to deal with. Lodgepoles like weeds out here. So yeah, they definitely clutter up the forest and they create a drier trend, and forest fires are a natural occurrence and they're just going to happen. But I like trees. So yeah, I'd like to see more trees too. Who's got questions? I got some more data in here, but I figured that this would be a good opportunity for people to ask questions, and I've gotten a couple. I'm going to scroll back through here real quick and see if I missed anybody. Had a bunch of people join. Maybe I'll just take a hit off that bottle that I got over here. Ooh, that's just a notification. Go away. I was talking so much my cigarette went out. Jesus. You guys are killing me. Alright. Pop the cork. Taking a drink. So, yeah. Who's got questions? What do you want to know? Went fishing out there today. Water was low. But like I said, OWRD forecasts that they're going to have about 10,000 acre feet. And they're left over by the time irrigation closes, which is coming up pretty quick. Last year it got down to 1,000 acre feet. Historic low. Never been that low in the history of Wickiup. It's never been that low. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Anecdotally, the fishing's been awesome, by the way. Some of the bigger fish, the trout, the salmonids, if you will, figure it out, man. They point upstream. They get the hell out of there. They go to the deep pockets, and they're there. I mean, I've caught some pretty good fish out of there this season. I guess they've been pulling like thousands of pounds of bullhead out when it gets this low. They've been seeing some bigger ones too. Like, we're talking like eaters. We're not talking little, dinkers that are like that big. So as far as the bass part of the fishery of Wickiup, yeah, it's probably going to suffer. Most of the water that's coming through there is still really cold. I know that because I was just in it today. Went by Davis, by the Davis Arm. Checked that out. Water was low, but flowing. Went up to the Deschutes Arm. Water was low, still flowing good, and cold. Brown trout doing fine. Rainbows doing fine. Kokanee aren't as good at fighting current. They kind of like that stiller water. That's the reason why they do so well in lakes here in Central Oregon. So when these drains happen, let up black strap. They just bounce. They just go straight down the ditch. Like, we're in the Deschutes. So there's probably a lot of kokanee milling around in the upper Deschutes right now, and probably for the past couple of years. How the kokanee fishery recovers based off of how we're looking as far as weather and water, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big kokanee fisherman, but I know a lot of people are. Oh, got a question. With the water so low last year, has anyone found any bass going through the dam and into the chutes? Yeah, I'm sure there has been. They haven't put any screw traps in as far as I know. They kind of just did like an anecdotal, not like a formal study, population study. They just kind of anecdotally went through and shocked a bunch of the water after that low water last year in the upper Deschutes. For those of you that don't know what electrofishing is, it's basically they've got a raft with a DC amperage on it, and they drop probes into the water, and they charge the water at a specific frequency with DC voltage, which doesn't kill the fish. It just it's kind of like getting tased. Think of it that way. Like they're tasering the water, and all the fish are just lose control of their muscles and float to the top, and they count them. Yeah, they found a ton of kokanee. They found bass. They found bullhead. So are they going to habituate, and are they going to stay, and are they going to hold over through winter? Probably not. They probably can't make it. They need the warmer water, especially the bass. And they don't got a lot of that right now. So the bass fishery on Wickiup may decline. However, because fish tongue gun. Yeah, exactly. However, because crane is basically being managed for the spotted frog as far as its water level, and that means that water is going to stay in that more or less the state that it's in right now and that it was all season. So the bass in crane may be better, maybe something to look at here for the future. And bass on a fly rod is a hoot. So 541 Fish On, you know what I know about bass on a fly rod. And so I would keep an eye on crane as far as bass fishery, transferring your love for bass fishing from Wickiup to somewhere else. I'd keep an eye on crane because that water level isn't gonna fluctuate because of the spotted frog, and it's an ESA listed species, and they got to manage the level so that way they can maintain habitat for the frog, which we all know bass love frogs, right? Like, so get your frog pattern out. Make it happen, Captain. Yeah, we still got Davis. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's a natural lake. So, let's see if I can get a better focus on me here. There you go. So, yeah, the bass fishery, I would look at crane and Davis still. Davis is going to fluctuate like a natural lake because it's not a reservoir. What other anecdotal evidence do I have here, or information? Let me look at my notes. Conditions for 2020 expected to be the same. Have you ever licked a spotted frog? Dude, you're so weird. But I love you. Seriously. I don't even know if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me all right? I guess I forgot to ask that. Do I need to speak up? Um, ooh. Here's something that I pulled out of it as an actionable item. And I don't know, I got 4 people left on here right now. 5, 6, something like that. I want to create an app. Anecdotal evidence from people telling ODFW that the fishery's in good shape or bad shape. Licking a frog. Hey, you're cracking me up. Anyway, I want to create an app and I want to pilot it, and I only want to do it with a few amount of people to have access to it, because what I want to do is help supplement ODFW's data with catch data. We don't have catch cards, daily catch cards. Guides don't do that here. One of the things that we can do as anglers and we can do as concerned people in the community is provide ODFW with data from a citizen science standpoint. You know, if we collect the data and we collect the data well, and people aren't liars about what it is they're doing, it makes for good science down the road. One of the things that's the hazard of doing citizen science is people lie about their catches. Like, oh yeah, man, I caught a 24-inch red side in the Deschutes the other day. And you're like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You caught an 18-inch fish. No, man, I swear it was this big. It was 8 pounds. No, it wasn't. So they kind of turn off to the idea of citizen science when they can't rely on the data. But, you know, I asked them about it, and they're like, yeah, I mean, if you can come up with something that helps provide us a steady stream of data and it's reliable, it absolutely helps us manage our resource better. So I want to come up with an app. I just recently downloaded a bunch of crap through Adobe to do that kind of stuff. So I think I'm gonna put something together and then test it out, beta it a little bit, get some people to beta it, and see if we can collect some data. Because I know plenty of people that fish the Upper Deschutes and Wickiup and Crane and all of that area. So I want to do like a daily catch card. You know, that's not something that's done here in Oregon. In Alaska, every single guide that you go out with, in most states, I think even in offshore fishing, you have to do daily catch cards. This is what we caught. This is how many of them that we caught. This is roughly the size that we caught them, and the locations. And it's pretty simple information. Like, it's drop downs, or it's, you know, select a checkbox, and that's what you do. Maybe fill in some data. If you've got a temp probe or something like that with you, you've got a thermometer, you can take some temperature. I'm not expecting people to go out and get little pH measuring devices so that way they can test pH, that kind of stuff. But, you know, who knows? Maybe down the road, if I make $1 million or if I win the lottery, I'll fund something like that. But until that happens, I just want to do something simple. Video footage for evidence, or it didn't happen. What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would work. I'm not saying I caught a 24-inch fish, but there are 24-inch fish in there. You just gotta know where to find them. I know where to find them. Find them on the tribal side. Shh. Don't tell anybody. In case you're wondering what I'm drinking, it's Basil Hayden's Dark Rye. This is a bourbon that was aged with port. So it's tasty. My good buddy Kyle from Trout Unlimited gave it to me as a gift for taking the guys from the Coast of Five Rivers Challenge out to the tribal side this year. Yeah, during Salmon Fly. Anyway. Ooh, look, we got comments. I have my GoPro on my chest just about every time I fish. And it's got a fish eye though, so, you know, it kind of makes the fish look bigger. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time, man. I know you're a good dude. But the good Kool-Aid. Which Kool-Aid? What are we talking about here? Uh, so yeah, I think I want to put together an app where basically those of you that actually kind of follow me on a regular basis or comment or come to my lives like this, where I might be able to share that and maybe beta test it with you guys, and we can figure out a way to get a deliverable amount of data to ODFW to help them with their management of our resource. Because at the end of the day, I'm an end user. I got a selfish purpose for wanting to make sure that we got a good fishery. Because I'm a fisherman first. Second, because I've been guiding and it helps my own income. But primarily, I just love to fish. Ooh, we got lightning, folks. Sweet! Maybe not. I don't want another fire. Anyway, the good Khalid. What am I drinking? I just told you what I was drinking. I'm drinking Basil Hayden. It's the dark rye. Ooh, thunder. Dark rye Basil Hayden. Sweet. It's awesome. I like regular Basil Hayden as well, but this is like a limited that they did, which doesn't seem so limited because they've had it for the past couple of years. Anywho, I'm not even sure how long I've been on. More questions, more comments, more anything else about Wickiup or the Upper Deschutes and what's going on, please hit me up. Like I said, I got a bunch of really good information. Hopefully we can get past this whole blame the irrigators bullshit, because it is. It's bullshit. Every year they're told to do more with less to keep themselves fed and to help feed the rest of the planet, basically. So they can only do with what Mother Nature gives them. Mother Nature doesn't give them 200% precipitation this year or for the next couple of years. They're going to continue to suffer, and nobody wins in that situation. So don't blame the farmer. Don't blame agriculture. And if you want to blame them, be sure that you're backing it up with some money to help them. There was a saying that I once heard, you never look down on a person unless you're reaching out to them to help them up. It's a good lesson there. Don't ever look down on somebody. Don't ever judge somebody unless you're willing to help them out of that situation. Period. End of story, as far as I'm concerned. You don't agree? I don't give a shit. That's how I live my life. So, people always ask me, why don't you take a harder stance on something? Well, fuck you. You go take a harder stance on something. I want to make a fucking solution. I'm not trying to fucking batter people. Anyway, what do we got? I meant that Basil Hayden you were drinking is some good Kool-Aid. Oh, yeah, it is. It is very good. Oh, look, Shad Campbell's here. What up, dude? We've just been talking about Wickiup, Upper Deschutes. Went to a meeting the other night. Again, I'll just rehash everything that I just said. Do you think they can draw down Crane a little more? Nah, they can't. Nope, not going to happen. That whole litigation that happened with the spotted frog pretty much locked that solution out. They have to have a minimum amount of water, and we all know Crane is basically a big flat pan. Crane Prairie as a reservoir basically doesn't serve much of a purpose other than it being a fishery. It really doesn't hold a shit ton of water for irrigation. Basically, the maximum depth I think in that entire lake is like 16 feet in most of the areas, and because it was just a historic floodplain, a river channel for 4 or 5 different rivers that came in and tributaries that came into one central location that could basically flood it out. They were like, shit, let's put a cap on the end of it right here, and we'll just fill this up a little bit, and then we'll use that to supplement the water for Wickiup. But simple fact is that they ain't gonna change Crane. They can't. Spotted frog legislation. Everybody thought that was a big win for everybody. It was. It was a big win for spotted frog. It was a big win for the conservation community. Yes, we get to hold more water in Crane. However, there's a trade-off there. Now we got to drain Wickiup more. We don't get to drain Crane. So, like I said, if you like bass, the fishery in Crane is just going to get better. It's not going to get worse, that's for sure. It's going to have more water holding in it for longer periods of time. It's going to stay fuller longer throughout the season. So, Crane's going to be the place to go. It's because we're going to keep draining Wickiup. Sorry, it's just how it is. And, on-farm efficiencies, canal piping and lining, again, doesn't guarantee the water goes back in the river, doesn't guarantee the water stays in Wickiup because of how water rights in Western law work. So, wait a minute, we got some stuff. What is that? What is the threshold? What is the threshold? What is the minimum percentage? That's a good question. I don't actually have that data, but how they're managing it this year, if you go to the hydrograph at the Hydromet website, I will post a bunch of this stuff and I'll take my notes and I'll put it in a blog post and I'll get some links out to how to look at historic averages for WikiUp as well as for Crane Prairie after I'm done here. But thanks for reminding me, Blackstrap. But how they managed Crane this year is pretty much how they have to manage it for the foreseeable future because of the litigation for the ESA listed spotted frog. So unless a spotted frog comes off the ESA list because the population rebounds so well that it's not necessary for that particular component of the legislative action to be maintained, that's going to be the way this year's how it's going to be managed for the foreseeable future. So sorry. What else we got here? We got but the drawdown before the frog thing is what kept Wiki up at the higher. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're absolutely right again. More water on Crane means more people on Crane. The drawdown, like you said, yeah, you're absolutely right. The drawdown on Crane helped Wiki up. It kept more kokanee in the system, helped the bass, helped everything. It's not going to happen. Not that we don't want it to happen, but we wanted the spotted frog. We wanted to protect the spotted frog. We want to maintain that part. So it's everything in life is a trade-off. Yeah, you don't get everything you want. I want to eat a pound of sour cream right now, but I'm lactose intolerant. I'll shit my pants for the next hour if that happens. But I love sour cream or ice cream. I'd like to hammer down this entire bottle of bourbon, but then I'll be on the toilet puking my guts out. So it's a trade-off. And again, only thing we can do is just do the best we can with the resources that we have. We've got to rely on Mother Nature. We got rain coming through right now. We got thunderstorms coming through right now. This is a boon. This is a blessing to have this extra water come through right now. It's not going to be a whole lot, but it helps. Every little bit helps. Everything that you can do to conserve water locally in Central Oregon helps. I'm not telling you to go dig a hole in the backyard and go take a dump in there, or go only take a shower once a week, or brush your teeth once a month. Do what you got to do. Just conserve as much as you possibly can. If you've got property and you're running a bunch of water to keep your grass super green all summer long, don't tell me about it because I want to throat punch you. Nah, not really. I'm not a violent guy. But figure out a way to be as efficient as possible with that. Don't just let your sprinkler run and just run water all over it. Convert to a drip system. Convert to something that's going to conserve more water. Keep more water in the ground. If we keep more water in the ground, that's going to help everybody. Because population here isn't going to decline, man. It's just going to go up. Peace out. 541 Fish on. Look, Clobosaurus, Dryfly, Nikolai. Got more people showing up. You guys need me to rehash? Comment. Tell me, ask me questions. If you're just joining and you're not sure what I'm talking about, there's been some concern about WikiUp and the Upper Deschutes. Got drawn down again this year, and that's what we're talking about. So if you got specific questions, you want to know any of the specific data that I picked up from the other night's meeting, about the basin study, about the habitat conservation plan, about this thing that they call BISWIG, the Basin Study Work Group, hit me up. But I got a notification from LinkedIn. Who the hell uses? Do you guys use LinkedIn? I don't know. I use it a little bit. Post stuff every once in a while. But I don't know if you guys know this or not, but recently jumped on the whole TikTok bandwagon as well. Thanks, Blackstrap. I'm gonna keep trying. Don't know how effective I am, but apparently some people think that I have a good enough voice to listen to. And I appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving me. All you guys that have been following me for years, the sponsors, Blackstrap, and Flash Fishing Gear people, whether it's a local shop, Flying Field, Confluence, Fly Fisher's Place, Reddington, Rio, um, Corkers. Who else? Blackstrap, obviously. I mean, they've been there since day one. I love those guys. Love you. Um, so I got some people in here. So ask me questions. What do you want to know about Wickiup? What do you want to know about the Upper Deschutes? What do you want to know that you don't already know that you can't find out for yourself, or you need to know where to get information? That's why I'm here right now. That's why I'm having a cigarette and drinking bourbon, hanging out with the dog, listening to the rain. God, that sounds so good. Nice cool breeze coming in through the window right now. Oh yeah, I'm on TikTok now. I don't know if anybody's doing that crap. Brian Lowry, what up? You know about the Upper Deschutes. You know about the Cascade Lakes. You know what's going on up there. Yeah, you do. I know you do. Who else is in here? Sound off, like you got a pair. It's raining outside. It's fucking awesome. Let me know what questions you have. Like I said, I went to a meeting the other night with major stakeholders for the Deschutes Basin. Major problem, bummer. What's the major problem on a bummer, Brian? The major problem is how far down Wickiup's getting drained? Is that what you're trying to say? Let me know. I'm gonna fire up another cigarette here. You know what I watched the other night? It was fucking awesome. It was Dave Chappelle's new thing on Netflix. Man, damn, that was good. I'm glad to see another guy out there not afraid to have a smoke in front of people as well. So the new minimum flow below Wickiup is the reason why Wickiup is drawn down so low. So the new minimum flow below Wickiup. Yeah, there is minimum flows that they have to manage for in the Upper Deschutes as well. You're absolutely right. Minimum flows in the Upper Deschutes and Crane Prairie's level are tied together because of the spotted frog and the ESA listing and the critical habitat that was found by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife staff. They were not present at the meeting this last week. They don't really need to be. They did their job. They did their finding. They basically litigated it and got a settlement and said this is what's going to happen. So, yeah, we will have minimum flows in the Deschutes because of that. Got to sacrifice somewhere, and what they're sacrificing is Wickiup. It was never built to be a fishery. It was built to store water. So I know people have become accustomed to it as a fishery, and it's pissing a bunch of people off. But the bottom line is, we got to have the water for the frog. I'm not arguing with it. It helps the system. Still not nearly enough water that we need to have in the Upper Deschutes to do any kind of critical habitat restoration up there. We're going to need a minimum of 300 CFS annually in the winter to make it happen. To even look at the Upper Deschutes and try to fix those cut banks and to fix the erosion problems. Oh, nobody's even going to touch the Upper Deschutes from Bend to Wickiup with a shovel, much less planting anything, until there's a guaranteed minimum flow of probably about 300 CFS. And that comes back to the findings from the, Jesus, what was it, 1998, 97? I think when they filed the Wild and Scenic River designation for the Upper Deschutes, I believe it was in the 90s. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody knows off the top of their head, I can go look it up. But that was outlined in that document. You know, you need to have a minimum of 300 CFS going through that system for it to even stabilize, for you to actually do any work on the Upper Deschutes. So 100 CFS is great. We're getting there. Maybe 150 CFS. Yeah, we're getting there. Until we got like 200 to 300 CFS regularly in that Upper Deschutes system, ain't nobody going to touch it with a shovel or a plant. You can't, because it's just, the water level goes like this. Too much. So I'd love to see the Upper Deschutes get restored back to its former glory. You know, I've talked to people that have lived here for generations. People that, you know, I'm talking like 90-year-old dudes that like just run into at some of these meetings, and they're like, yeah, man, back when I was a kid, I used to go down to where the old mill is, and go fish with my dad, and we'd fish until we caught exactly 100 fish. And this is a story that I've heard from another person, and You know, some of these other people didn't say 100 fish, but you know, they said 50 fish. Like they go down to the old mill and go catch 100 fish or 50 fish or 25 fish or whatever the hell it was. All like in hours. Like they would just knock out a bunch of fish and just take them home, smoke them up, and just have them whenever they wanted. So people are coming in and out of this. So we've been talking about a lot of stuff about Wickiup and the Upper Deschutes. So if you've got questions, ask. You know, there's this little thing down here at the bottom, like right about there, where you can thumb in a comment, and I'll see it. Otherwise, you're just sitting here staring at me. Which brings me to something interesting. I'm going to play this little piece of audio for you here real quick, because if you don't like my audio, you're the one who clicked on my face to watch this shit. So it's your own damn fault. Where is it? There it is. I love this. See if you guys can hear it.
Doesn't matter what I say. And if you're at home watching this shit on Netflix, remember, bitch, you clicked on my face.
You clicked on my face. You don't like it? Get the fuck out. Anyway, what do we got here? Shad. Makes sense. Looking forward to your blog post. Thanks, man. I'll put links out to North Unit, to COID, to OWRD, to Hydromet, to all those different places where I go gather data. You can get on a lot of these mailing lists as well yourself if you're so inclined. If you just want me to do it, I don't give a shit. I'm going to do it anyway. And then just every once in a while post an update and let you all know what's going on. I can do that. It's not a big deal. I got nothing else to do except for go fish and work. So, but I'm glad you like it. I've tried to parse my words in the past, and I've slowly come to realize I don't give a fuck anymore. So I'm not going to talk shit about people, and I'm not going to talk down about them. I'm not going to tell you that there's somebody that's doing something wrong, because most of the time it's just not the fucking case. You don't like my language? You think I curse too much? Got another person I can quote for that. How about Gary Vaynerchuk, for those of you who know that. My mind and my heart are connected. I feel so passionate about this fishery, and I feel so passionate about fisheries in general in the Western United States and everywhere that I go, that I can't control myself. Because I think about it and like, do I give a fuck? Yeah, I do. So why not just say that? I do give a fuck. Why do I gotta say, well, I really do enjoy these fisheries? No, man, I give a fuck about them. In my soul. That's how much it worries me. That's how much this conservation shit worries me. I got a minute 56 remaining. So I got a little timer that just popped up here. What's up, Fly Fishing Vet? Good to see you, man. Love you. Stay strong, man. A lot of shit going on out there for you guys as well. Don't even want to get into that right now. I got a minute 38 remaining. 37, 36, 35. If anybody wants me to continue this broadcast, too fucking bad. Should have been here earlier. Sorry. Anyway. So yeah, appreciate the support, you guys. I do. I'm not going to parse my words. So don't expect me to have civil language. Because I'm not gonna. It's not going to happen. Especially if I'm drinking. Anyway, I don't know. I'll write up a blog post with all the links and stuff and some of this data that I shared with you guys tonight. And I'll post a link on Insta and Facebook and all the rest of that good stuff. Thanks, man. I will. Real life fisherman. I will keep the videos coming. They seem to, for lack of a better word, get better response. And I'm kind of an introvert. I don't spend a lot of time out there mingling with you guys. And then when I see you, I get kind of like, I don't know, shocked by the fact that you guys recognize me and that you guys want to hang out and talk. I don't know why, but I do appreciate it and I thank you for it. And that's something I've got to deal with and come to terms with and recognize that that's the role I play. in your lives, and I do appreciate it, and I'm thankful for it, and I'm humbled by it. So thank you. Bye.